Lost the plan review administrator back in February, and we went out and did a search. We actually, in the initial search, did not come up with any candidates. We used the resources of an outside recruiter to help assist us in recruiting. We had 3 possible candidates. It's a very difficult position to fill because they are required to either be an engineer or an architect, and they need to be licensed. It's a very difficult time finding a candidate. We found a candidate, or the candidate is currently making about $70,000 and said he can't take the job without a cut in pay. So what we looked at was, and had discussions with him, he would take this position if we were able to offer him something in grade 38.
This is the person who serves as the city's building official, which allows us to do state plan review.
Yeah, but he's forcing our grade for another, what, 13, well, no, it's more than that. Almost $20,000 more. I'm not, well, I'll let these guys talk. I'm not going to support that.
Well, it's another position that requires an engineer. It was not
Yeah.
a position that we included in that study because it's in a different department. So in part, that may be some of it. It's also a very difficult position to recruit for. So our salary is probably lagging whatever market there really is for this position. So I don't think it's inconsistent with what's happening in the market. But we will then again go without having someone in this position. It'll probably take us some time again to fill that.
How many years of experience do you look for in a candidate?
I believe it was 6.
And they have to be a registered engineer?
Licensed professional.
He is, right,
Licensed
yes,
architect.
they are PE or a licensed architect, correct. So there are some, requirements on that position.
We obtained the ability to do state plan review in 2013. Prior to that, larger buildings had to go through the state. Doing them in-house allows us to do them in less than half the time, as well as it allows our building inspectors to know exactly what's going on, because we've been working with the contractors from the beginning, rather than receiving a plan set from the state that's done. In 2013, generally from 2013 on, just doing this plan review has generated between $29,000 and $35,000 a year in revenue to the city. If we don't have this person on board, we could potentially lose our ability to conduct the state plan review.
And the main advantage to being able to do this in-house, versus depending on the state, is the time in which it gets done?
From a development perspective, it's the time that you're saving the developer and the contractor in the plan review. From the city perspective, we have a broader understanding of the building from the beginning, which means our inspectors have a broader understanding in-house, and then there's the revenue side, which isn't substantial, but it is helpful.
But Kim, we already have people in that position that can do both, so we got
Can't-
Paul.
We don't
why?
have any other professional engineers or architects.
How are we getting it
in-
done then? All
Well,
this,
right
all this stuff
now-
that's been happening, have been doing it how?
Jim Brunette became
Okay.
the Assistant Director of Public Works.
Right.
So the 1 or 2 plan sets we've received, he has been doing, but that's not really part of his core job as the Assistant Director of Public Works.
Well, we can do it. We've been doing it.
It's not going to be a long-term solution because the time that Jim is spending doing plan reviews takes away from his ability to do his job as the assistant director. And I can't
Which is
afford.
going slow too.
I can't afford to leave either department short-staffed at this critical location.
Dave, anything?
Well, I read the report, and, it is a rather technical position. It's not something that, anyone with a small amount of experience can do. I think you have to have good education, good skills. And, when I looked at this, at the administrative pay schedule and how this fits in, I think it's appropriate. I think the grade that's being put in is appropriate. So
Okay.
I'm going to support it. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to say nay at this point. Not that the job ain't, we don't need it. I just think throwing our $20,000 out person because he doesn't want to come here otherwise, it's not right. Okay, number 7, request 4 hours, or
Number
6,
six.
yep, that's what we were just talking about. Request to approve, I know, what I almost thought it was. Request to approve the reclassification of Public Works Supervisor parking service position from grade 33, 45,055-56.97, 097, okay, to Public Works Superintendent, grade 35, 50,750, slash to 63,211, effective at the beginning of the next pay period following council approval. I think this was held up once at the last time. It doesn't say that, but I think it was when I was gone. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gentlemen?
It's being brought back.
I missed got the contact. I read the notes, what in the minutes, but
Yeah, I think one of the issues that was discussed at the council when this came up, or it might have been at your last committee when it came up, was, what the process and, what the personnel committee is being asked to approve and what the improvement services committee had done last year. I'm on the improvement services committee, and we received a report in October that was prepared by a consultant, Desmond Associates, and it looked at a lot of things in the operation of the city's parking division, things that could be changed, places where management could be improved, ways to restructure the management. And what I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Steve, but what I recalled about it was that one of their criticisms in their study was that we could benefit by having one person who would be overseeing all of the parking operations, including the office operations and the field operations.
That's right.
I believe she does that already.
Well,
She does.
there are some components of that are happening and some that are not, because her location being off-site doesn't lend itself with some of the transactions that occur. Some of those occur here on third floor. What we're looking at, the way DPW is approaching this is from a functional or a categorical way of looking at operations. Parking has historically been a function on the table of organization. It falls under streets, and that's not really appropriate. It's its own entity. It used to be a utility. It functions as its own distinct entity, much like streets, sewer and bridge section, and sanitation. And each of those divisions are headed by a superintendent, not a supervisor who reports to the superintendent. Mary's job has administrative function, it has personnel and oversight function, it has budget preparation and administration function. Her position functions as a superintendent, not as a supervisor. So this actually came up under a previous director, the contemplation to go
Number 6
to
guy.
a superintendent was actually contemplated by my predecessor. At the time, we were anticipating the parking system study, which ultimately was completed. That study did identify the creep in responsibility for this position that has occurred over the years. When we got the results of that study, management evaluated the position and brought forward some comments in that regard. When we discussed it with the Improvement Service Committee, this is where I was not speaking clearly enough last time. Improvement Service Committee recommends that we then come forward to Personnel Committee seeking the reclass, okay? So what we did was taking that direction from the Improvement Service Committee to come to Personnel to seek the reclass. We provided the information to Human Resources Department in May of 2015, outlining what our desire was and the justifications for that. HR completed a position study, and that's what came forward at the last Personnel Committee meeting, was the memo from Human Resources Department.
Oh, Steve, it sounds like you want her in-house, like on third floor or wherever.
Not necessarily, no.
Because then you're gonna want someone to take her position, to supervise the rest, is that correct? Is that
No.
what your next goal is?
No, not at all. What this is again, this was something that was contemplated years ago. We're closing the loop, we're bringing this full circle. We held off on implementing anything 4 years ago because we knew we had the study coming, and we wanted to see what the results of the study were. Did the results of the study continue to support our internal beliefs relative to the function of how that position worked? What we found is it did. Now we're bringing that forward and requesting the reclassification so that the position is commensurate with the responsibility.
Okay, I guess my next question is, at any time in the future, are you still talking about going automated?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so
And
I'm
that
just
will
thinking,
fall-
you give this that much of a raise, you go to automation, it's not gonna be as much work for this person to do.
That person will have as much work, if not more, in
And how is that, can you explain that to
implementing
me?
the automated plans.
Well, once it's implemented, it's,
Oh, those systems are not set it and forget it, not by any stretch of the imagination. There's constant maintenance that goes along with those.
we have people that do the maintenance. We have people that check on all that stuff. She ain't gonna do none of that.
Last
This
month,
item before us,
last month it was the lead.
Right.
I thought we, I don't know, did we turn it down or did we?
No, what you did was
We
you
held
asked to
it.
hold it over
Yep.
and for Steve to come back and to further describe what had occurred and specifically think a little bit about what occurred in improvement service.
Yeah, because there was questions about.
Her workload substantiated, Guy, from what you might have just missed, it substantiates, my question was, once you go to automation, the responsibility, I think, would be, because you got a lot of people out there right now that you're responsible for. That was my only question.
Now, HR has looked at the description of the duties, and you concur that based on that description, this belongs.
Right, this position is, even though on the organizational chart, it shows as reporting to the streets superintendent, it hasn't reported to the streets superintendent in some time. It really operates as a separate division. In fact, we're also recommending that that be modified on the org chart so that it would be a separate division, because it really has been acting or functioning that way. Anything to do with employees hiring, disciplines, et cetera, they're all handled directly by the person that's currently with supervisors. We have no other supervisors that handle it. It doesn't go through the other superintendent. It's handled directly, actually, sometimes with the operations, but quite often with the director himself. So what we see here in terms of the breadth of what she's dealing with and the dollars, we see it being very, being similar to the other superintendents. And certainly concur with that.
She's been working as a superintendent probably for good 8 years.
Probably. And I think, as Steve mentioned, it's been contemplated in the past and just never got to this point to bring it forward.
What was the reason that this supervisory position was at a different level than the other supervisory positions for time in memoriam here?
Again, this was something that the previous director had contemplated taking forward about 4 years ago, and we had just started the downtown parking study, and he wanted to wait until the results of that study were complete to see if the study corroborated what internal feelings were, if there was some consistency between an outside party evaluating how our operations work versus what we felt in-house. We got that when the study was completed. We brought the results of that study forward, and Improvement Service recommended that we then go ahead and seek the reclass. At that point, in May of this year, I forwarded the information on Human Resources so they can do what they needed to do and prepare this memorandum to the position evaluation. When that was completed, it came forward last month for a reclass request.
Well, I'm going to just, I don't know if you quite answered my question. We followed, there's been 4 supervisory positions over the 4 divisions, is that what you're saying? And that this is the one that was classified lower for some reason?
Yes.
Since time in the morning. And I realized that 4 years ago, I started looking at it. But what was the reason it was lower? Was it considered not quite as, when you're talking about sewer and all that, there's a lot of, there's a lot of engineering.
How did it get to be this way? Let me see if I can answer it this way. Some years ago, there were 2 separate positions that the job duties part of that position folded into this one, which increased the level of responsibility. Some of the responsibility that this position currently has was invested with the Director of Operations and Parking, Mr. Pirlock. So some of that
Was
responsibility.
there no change made at that time when they folded the job in?
Well, it didn't happen all at once. From my understanding, speaking with folks who are still here, this happened over a period of years. So it
What I'm
wasn't
trying to
just
get at
a-
here is there a big difference in this division when it comes to responsibility? You know, the guys that gotta know how to figure out the sewer system is a pretty responsible position.
Correct.
And so we're the whole ball of wax. Was this looked at as less technical responsibility? This is more administrative, the other required technical as well as administrative?
I don't know that until now we looked at it in that light, but my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn and Melanie, when we started this evaluation, again, this started some time ago, but then was delayed pending the results of the parking study. Now that we had some direction on moving it forward, we looked at it in that light and determined that the function of this position was more in line with the other superintendents that operate within the operations division, as opposed to the supervisors who report to those superintendents.
I guess in response to your question, Alderperson Zima, and I don't have the history on it, but in looking at the organizational chart, at some point, this position reported to the superintendent of streets. Now, in reality, that hasn't happened since I've been here, and has even grown since then. So when we look at it, at one point, it must have been contemplated that this position would somehow report to the superintendents of streets. It really doesn't. It functions as its own division, as a superintendent, reporting directly either to the direct operations director or the public works director on some issues. So
Correct.
So the only authority above this position is the operations director and.
Correct.
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay, so this is a little bit of housekeeping.
In a way,
I think
yes.
that's, I think that's
fair.
very fair characterization.
Sounds like something that's been contemplated for some time, that we've done the analysis and believe that it belongs at that pay level. I'm ready to support going ahead with it.
The only last question I have is, the position where it is now in 33, what other positions are in 33 classification? And what other ones are in 35? And I guess 34 in between, so I.
Well, the other ones that are in 33 are the assistant forester, the assistant wildlife sanctuary director, business development planning specialist, facility and equipment supervisor, ground supervisor, landscape architect, municipal court clerk, senior property manager, and the web and graphic designer.
The first 2 or 3, there were people who report to somebody else.
Well, and public works supervisors, yes, assistant forester, assistant wildlife sanctuary, they're reporting
They
to.
just have one person above them.
They're reporting to somebody.
Well, 2 persons.
At least, yeah. Facility and equipment supervisor.
Then why isn't that appropriate then? If it's similar to those.
Well, let's look at what's in 34, is your assistant park super. I think it's the breadth of the responsibilities that they're carrying. So in 34, you have an assistant park superintendent who reports to the superintendent, who reports to the director. You have a construction inspection manager, although I don't think that's in there anymore. I'll take that one out. Okay, planner, because that's part of the engineering study. Planner 2, project and program manager, rec supervisor, senior landscape architect, and special facilities assistant manager. I think that's the Bay Beach person, the assistant out there. Then in 35, you have your business and grant manager, your fleet manager, your public works superintendents, your payroll managers, your senior planning and zoning administrator, and the wildlife sanctuary director.
Well, it's almost like about halfway between 34 and 35.
Well, as we're looking at where the public works superintendents were classified, and we see this as functioning very similar to the public works superintendents. They all report up through the director of operations and then to the director or assistant, I suppose, depending on what the issue might be, but.
And within time, all the extra duties that were folded into her job.
Yeah. Overtime.
Well, it's just the other superintendents have to have technical knowledge as well as supervisory knowledge.
As does this one.
And the technical knowledge is what? I mean,
Parking systems, ramps, electronics, automated parking, revenue control, business.
they know how to fix electronics.
No. She's responsible for scoping out and recommending things such as parking meters, automated controls on parking facilities. She's responsible for selecting contractors and maintenance contracts for elevators in the ramps. So she has to understand those basic systems.
And has so that technical knowledge.
Absolutely.
Could fix them if they had to on an
No,
emergency.
that's not, my engineers can't fix an elevator either, but they know who to call and how to diagnose the problem to get the appropriate staff involved.
Well, I might be able to do that. I don't know something, I call somebody. The sewer guys do know something about sewers, though, don't they?
And
The sewer superintendent, they engineerily, they know something about what's going on.
And this person understands parking systems and parking garages.
I guess I just see a little difference in that, that's all. I think about 34 between, I don't think this rises to the standards of the other three superintendents. It's more technical in nature.
Yes, did that come up in the analysis at all? Was there a difference in the technical levels when you looked at this that would suggest that it was, dramatically different from the standpoint of technical understanding versus the others?
Not really, I think it was looking more at the project management, direction of staff,
Financial management.
financial,
What is 34? What's the number on that? What would it go to?
It goes to 59,516.
What's the start?
What's the start of that one? 47,793.
It goes to,
59, what is it? 59,516.
well, I still think that's a substantial raise. I don't know, I'd be good with that.
I feel there is a difference in that position from the other superintendents. So
What is she making?
I would make a motion to put this to level 45.
She's making the top of,
35.
the range. She's making $56,097.
Well, she's making 56, so her next step would probably be 59,000.
Well, it says you're gonna raise it $7,000.
But if we moved it up to
So it's
the
going to the
same
top
level.
or what?
No, it's a 7%. The annual salary increase would be $3,996.
Yeah, I was looking at the other one, yeah, 7%. So she would go actually to the step 3, correct?
Correct.
And then after a year, she'd be eligible to go to the top. So she wouldn't immediately go to the top of the pay range 35.
Well, next year.
Well, there's another
Yeah,
year just
yeah.
around the corner.
Correct.
Give me 34 again. The top one you said was 59,516,
Correct.
and the bottom was 47, you said?
47,793.
And she's already at 56.97, so.
She's been in this position for
Well, she could,
a number of years.
she could get
10
this,
years.
she could get that $3,000 raise, but then she'd be at the top, not eligible for yet another raise
That's
in
correct.
3 months.
Correct.
So I think that's fair.
I guess I'd like to hear more about Alderman Zima. Why do you disagree with the analysis that was done using the system that we use for valuable names?
Different analysis, different analysis. I stated my reasoning. I thought that this position was not as technically, it didn't have the same technical requirements as the other superintendents, and I thought it fit better with 34.
So it's the technical aspects of the work that you think are so significantly different?
I do.
Okay. Any additional?
I'd like to see this get passed today, and then the council will be taken up, so I'll second Alderman Zima's grade 34. We get this through us tonight.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Nay.
Okay, passes. And then it'll be brought up on the council floor.
Maybe.
Okay, number 7, request for out-of-state travel for Lieutenant Ben Allen to attend the COPS National Conference on Law Enforcement, Wellness, and Trauma in Grapevine, Texas, November 13 through 15, 2015. I'm gonna make a motion to approve. Can we get put the money in there, what it's gonna cost, just so, because that'll come up. So it's on record and file.
The it's included in the memorandum.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it's kind of, the conference fee is $300, $129 per night for hotel, he's gonna be there for 2 days, plus,
that's fine.
and then
Move to
$200
approve.
estimated flight, okay.
We got a motion to approve. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any nays here, none, motion passes. Request for out-of-state travel division chief Bill Zeems to attend the Emerging Metal Service World Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada, September 15, 19, 2015. Motion to approve.
Cost of that is approximately $1,500.
We got a second?
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays here, none, motion passes. Request by Alderman Moore to fund the compliance inspector position solely through the 2016 budget and return the 50%, which is currently funded through CDBG, back to block grant funding. He's not here right now.
Should
so-
we just refer this to the joint meeting of personnel and finance when we do the budget?
If that's all right by him, there might be a reason, but did you talk to him on this?
No, I did not.
What is he driving at here?
I'm not sure.
I'm trying to get my hands around it.
Yeah, I didn't
I guess
know
I'm
we
not
didn't.
sure.
I usually talk to him all the time, but.
Is he in the building? Is he in another
No.
computer?
Oh, it's economic development, right?
Yeah, economic development's going on right now, he
Yeah.
might be down there, I don't know.
You want to just go see if he can come for a
Can I
minute?
check? Sure.
Okay, we're gonna hold up, make a motion to hold number 9.
So moved.
We got a motion and a second.
Just take a little break here or something, you know.
Well, I might take one.
You want to take number 11 or?
Yeah.
On order?
Okay, number 11, report of the personal actions for regular employees.
No, they're just routine actions that have taken place in the last.
Move to receive and place on file.
Yeah, second.
Motion and a second, to receive and place on file, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, here, none, motion passes. Okay, we'll wait for a couple seconds to see if,
It says to fund the compliance inspector position solely through the 2016 budget and return 50%, which is currently funded through the community development block grants. I think it's fine the way it is myself. In fact, I don't even know if we need that position. We have so many inspectors, much more than I ever agreed we have in that division. Back in 1985, we didn't have any. We didn't have any, 0. And it was myself and the late Alderman Miller, who just died this past year, who worked for 3 consecutive years to try to get one position added to deal with existing housing. We had an inspection department that was basically handling new construction. And we did have a health department at that time, and we did get some help with housing matters through the health department, like they could order house painted, porch handles put on, stuff like that, but it was somewhat limited. But after about 3 years trying, we finally, with a 2/3 vote, the mayor at that time had taken it out of the budget, we finally succeeded after 3 years to get one person. It was Larry Bauman was his name. And I thought he did a terrific job. And the following year, we did manage to add another position. So we sort of had one for the east side, one for the west side. And then, of course, over the years, this has grown dramatically. And I don't know how many, that neighborhood housing division is, how many people in it right now?
So it was like 6. I think it was like 6. I'm not sure the
I
exact
thought
number,
there were
but
more than that.
there could be 7, I'm not sure, but I just was doing something with those numbers. Maybe it's not, I don't. But I don't know, 6 or 7 in the housing. Nuisance and compliance, I think there may be like 6. It's not here,
Looks
so
like Alderman Moore's not available.
Yeah, he's not there. We have improvement services at 5:30, so he might be in by then, I don't know.
Why don't we just hold this up and we'll
I'll
ask,
try.
we'll let council see if, yeah.
We wasn't at the last one, yeah, was here.
Well, we can ask them at that, if we can hold it to a budget, so we can still do that.
We've funded this position, with half community development block grant funds.
Right.
And half out of the city budget. I think years ago, it was, we had this position funded, I think 100% out of community development block grant.
Right, we did.
And I don't know, I think it's appropriate. This is geared toward the older neighborhood. Of course, it isn't the only place we have it. We have, people can throw garbage anywhere in anybody's district. But historically, it was more in the older areas. But I'd be more, have it all funded through community development block grant funds, not out of the city budget, because that's where the main work was, and that was a way we felt we could use those funds and keep money available for other things we really needed in our regular budget. So I think it's something that has to be thought through. I wouldn't want to just, I'd hate to have this discussion gobble up a half hour of our budget meeting.
Okay, so just hold up till next meeting, let them come forward.
Next
For
person.
me, I'd receive it and place on file, and even at the council meeting, if he wants to discuss it there. It's just, I've just given my thoughts on the matter.
I'll
That's where
second
history comes
that.
in sometimes.
He can bring it back.
I don't want
He
to put
didn't
it on,
come twice.
I don't want to put it in our budget thing. If he was here to tell us why, I guess he just wants,
And if he asks, he can send it back, and we'll
he
take
wants it all
back.
in the budget. Well, I think, we're trying to fund positions in the police department, and the little birds are telling me they're coming up with some ideas that we don't have enough room in our budget to handle it. So I want to preserve as many of those dollars as possible. If anything, move this to 100% community development block grant funding, or eliminate it. I think we've got 6, 7 inspectors. I think it's, we have probably more than we need.
All right, we have a motion and a second to receive a place on file, all in favor? Aye. Any nays here, none, motion passes. 10, refer back from common council request by Alderman Scannell to review the draft code of conduct for elected officials with possible action. Well, we'll just anybody want to start?
Well, I believe I said at the council meeting that I would be interested in hearing from aldermen who don't support the current draft, what sort of changes they'd like to see that could bring them to the level of support that they could vote for it. And I guess what I'm thinking is, I know we're divided on this. I guess if there's aldermen who will not support a code of conduct, no matter what's in it, then self-identify, and we know that that's where Roosevelt said it. But if there's aldermen who will not support this code of conduct, because they think there's problems with it, then let's hear the proposed changes and see if we can arrive at something that's workable.
Well, I'll tell you, I for one, talking to attorneys and even judges, said that they don't think a lot of it's even legal. I mean, especially when it comes to having counsel tell you that a counsel can take you out of office. They told me that's absurd, that on its face. And that's just, there's, you know, having an alderman do activities, do hours of service and stuff. So I just want to make sure we don't do anything illegal. And so, you know, I just, and those are things that I'm worried about come time to make this, because there already is a code out there. And Attorney Miller, correct me if I'm right, I mean, we already have a code that really follows most of the stuff, but except for the extra crazy stuff that was put in there, service hours and being eliminated by your own peers. And I know at one time you said that we could actually adopt that, but talking to people, I'm hearing that they don't understand. I'd like to, if you could, there must be a code or something. So those are my worries, so we'll go from, you know, Alderman Zeman, did you have something?
You know, I have 2 or 3 things, but I'll wait till you're done.
No, I'm good, I'm good. I just gave my understanding why I wanted to come here, because I wanted to make sure, first, it's legal, because you heard from our staff that some of the stuff is legal, and I'm hearing from other officials that it's not. I mean, you know, it'd be pretty hard-fetched to do a lot of this stuff, but and the fact was, we have a code of conduct that, you know, already is in state law.
I'm not familiar with it. There is already a code of conduct?
Well, yeah, that's,
Well,
Attorney Miller.
I'm not familiar with that either, but, I mean, there's certain clauses in state law,
Right.
and I've outlined those in the penalty sections.
Right.
And really, the state law says essentially the council will regulate itself. So by adopting the code of conduct, that's essentially what, it's just formalizing that.
Well, talking to
authority.
people I talked to said, even if you put that in code of conduct, it's, I don't know about that you can take another one out of office. They all just looked and kind of giggled.
I would love to talk, I mean,
Yeah.
we can take that out if you're uncomfortable. There's a statute that essentially says that, it's in the
Well,
document.
let's just leave it
objection,
right
we'll
in there,
take that
because
out.
that's how absurd this thing is.
Well, those are, I'm just giving you
I
mine.
understand. Yep, no,
I voted for mine. I would like to see that poll. But, no, okay, I'm done. You want to go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, just to
Yeah.
answer Alderman Sladek's question, I would not be advocating any changes, adding or subtracting in any shape, form, or manner, because I think the document is outside the law by itself, and by participating in it, I say, oh, Mr. Scannell would like to have us come in, you make the changes. Well, make changes of something that isn't, in my opinion, isn't even illegal. And I guess I'd like to start, I'd like to ask Alderman Scannell a question, that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Scannell, how much
If
of
he
this-
wants to answer.
How much of this code of conduct did you actually write yourself?
How much, well, I put in, I don't know, percentage-wise, what about, the code of conduct came together, I put together things that I was concerned with, things I wanted to see. We looked at other code of conduct from other municipalities, and we looked at Robert's Rules of Orders and the state laws, which I believe the one you're objecting to of voting a constituent off the council is in state statute. So even if it wasn't in our code of conduct, using our state statutes, we could still do that. So, I don't know why.
I'm just saying the judges I talked to and lawyers, they just.
But,
Well, if it's a state
Yeah.
statute,
Yeah.
How much of this did you pen yourself? What are your specific additions to this? What part of this draft is yours?
I wrote nothing. I did not, I said what I wanted written, and just as others spoke up
So you-
what they wanted,
So
it was drafted
You
by.
actually wrote nothing.
I did
I
not
want that
write
in
a
the
thing.
record, he wrote nothing. And of the things that are written, what are the things that you specifically asked to be put into there?
I asked for a procedure of, for what we can, a set of consequences. I asked for that, and I made some suggestions as to what could be a set of consequences. Those consequences are merely a few. We could certainly, the council, according to statutes, is in charge of itself. I wanted a document, especially for the public, that would make sense to them, that they could see how we conduct ourselves. So I wanted procedures in place that put together a process based on civility and processes of a standard of professionalism. That would be the code. Then I wanted possible consequences. That's all that list is possible consequences. We could certainly, as a council, do other things than those, or any part of those. And I wanted, I didn't bring the draft with me. Yeah, I can't read that.
You're not too familiar with this.
I can just look at the table of contents. That's what I need. And when I sat down with Attorney Mueller, looking at other code of conduct from other municipalities, I pointed out certain ones that I thought would be good and relevant for us. I don't remember exactly what months those were anymore.
You don't remember which things stuck out to you?
Not back. This was months ago. This started,
Gee, I tell you, if I wrote it, I'd tell you exactly what I thought about it.
I know what you think about it.
Isn't it true that Mr. Miller brought together 2 or 3 codes of conduct he found from other places, and you looked at them?
I asked him to look at other municipalities so that we're not starting from scratch. Yes. I had some general concerns I wanted to look at.
You were aware of other municipalities?
I knew other municipalities had code of
Which
conduct.
municipalities are those? Which ones
Mr.
are they?
Chairman, I don't understand the point. of
I
this.
couldn't- I couldn't
It's
tell you.
okay. No, I don't need Mr. Miller to say. Which communities did you know of that had a code of conduct that you wanted to look at?
I had heard that there were other code of conducts. I asked Attorney Mueller if he could look those up. And I wanted, within the state of Wisconsin, I wasn't interested in any other state, but I had heard that there were.
Well, you heard that there were, and on hearsay, you asked the attorneys to go find them.
Yeah, I asked Attorney Miller if he knew of any, and he said, yes, there are some out there. I said, well, let's pull those in and take a look at those. What I'm looking for is a standard of professionalism based on civility and procedure, and a way of, a process of how we can go through a complaint and possible consequences. That's what my 3
So
concerns were.
You wanted some standards, some procedures, and some consequences.
And a
I don't want to
procedure
put words
of,
in your mouth, but that's what you're telling me.
right, and I wanted to see procedures to, what did you say? Yes, I wanted procedures and a set of standards. I wanted possible consequences. And I wanted procedures on how to handle the complaint through the ethics committee.
That's
Because
part
right
of
now,
the
all complaints would just come right to the council. I was hoping to make it less political by setting up a procedure, by having to go through the ethics committee. And at one time, it was thought maybe even through, we would start with the clerk of courts, and then maybe the attorneys and the ethics. And working it through, we've decided to take out the attorney, make it, and just go from the clerk of courts to the ethics. Ethics would look at it,
To the
toss
clerk-
it,
from the
or
clerk
pass
of
it on
courts-
to the council.
The clerk of courts is involved in this now?
City clerk.
City clerk, oh, I'm sorry, city clerk. Did I say clerk? City clerk is what I meant to say. That's where it would start. A complaint could come into the city clerk.
Okay. Well, So you, as I understand what you said, is that you heard about some rules of order, some rules of conduct. You asked the attorney to bring them together, and you went and looked at them with him. And then did you make some specific changes to any of it?
We picked and choose some that I thought were good. We added, there are things in those code of conduct, for example, going through an ethics committee, I think that's unique to us, that process. Some of the consequences that we listed, I think that's unique to us. And those were that was from my input.
All right, are you acquainted with Robert's Rules of Order at all?
Yes, a little bit, yeah. And state statute as well. We pull in some of each of those things as well. Part of it was just to make it more comprehensive.
What is the state statute you pulled in?
Well, the state statute that says we can remove a fellow official from office.
Well, anybody that told you that should give up their law license, because there is no such ability, period. And after we're done with our discussion here, I'm going to ask for a lettered opinion from our attorney here for us to peruse at of just what authority he thinks we have in creating this, and under what authority we could remove people from office through the city council. I tell you, every attorney I've thrown this to, I've thrown it to about 3 already, they think it's like a joke of jokes. And at some point in time, I would even ask for something more severe, maybe some discipline.
Let's not go into that.
For the
Right,
people,
please.
well,
No,
Mr. Chairman?
And here's the point, here is
I
the
don't want to
point.
get personal.
We've had
Please.
3 months
I've talked to
here,
you before
and
the
if
meeting.
that is in fact incorrect, it can be removed. That's what
Well,
this process is for.
This is what I want to get at here. I want to see the written authority, the opinion of our city attorney. If he's got this, I want a lettered opinion from him. That's where you have to put.
It's in the document. The state statute's listed in the document that lists that on. If you would have read the document, you would have saw that.
Well,
I mean, what are we talking about here?
You can
If
get-
want
you
to
can
take
get
it out,
it
then
for
take
Mr.
it out.
Chairman,
Yeah.
I'm insisting on
We're threatening
authority,
discipline?
on what authority he's creating, he's recommending
State
that we
statute.
consider these aspects of this code of conduct. I want it in writing, because he has to put himself on the line for others to review.
Let's not attack them.
Well,
No
attack.
threats, no attack, no threats.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, I'll remind Mr. Scannell that we live under Robert's Rules of Order. We've adopted Robert's Rules of Order. We didn't personally do it, but it's been there for as long as we've been operating from council to council to council to council. We also have all the laws of the land, state, federal, local, that we all come under. We all have to live up to the rules of law like anyone else. We also have a code of ethics, which basically is there to attempt to prevent officials from having conflicts of interest, financial conflicts of interest in the things they vote on. And then we have Robert's Rules of Order that controls how our meetings are supposed to be run. I don't know that we're always run as perfectly as our Robert's Rules of Order would require, but they are there for our reference when we want to, when we want them. And in that is also the conduct of officials while they're at a meeting. And there are means within the Robert's Rules of Order to discipline people who are unruly at those meetings. I take specific umbrage with this, Mr. Chairman, because this goes outside our official conduct, the official laws of the land, and creates a special code for a very small group of people, the aldermen of the city of Green Bay.
Elected officials.
Not-
Elected officials, all elected officials,
Elected
not
officials.
just the alders.
Well, the only elected officials are the mayor and common council.
Yeah, we can't send an ordinance or a code of conduct for anything but the city council.
Well,
We don't have any power over any elected official.
Well, I don't
Well,
think we got any
The
power
mayor is
at all.
part of the common council.
Well, he's part of
so-
common council, you're correct, but you.
So he is included, so that's what,
All I'm trying to say, Mr. Chairman, is that we have all the laws we need right in place to handle anybody who breaks the law or breaks any rules of conduct that are specified in Robert's Rules of Order, and to create yet another set of rules. And I take great umbrage with our attorney. I have had no one tell me that we have authority to remove anybody, and I'm not going to ask that it be removed. because I think it points to the ridiculousness of it all.
What would you like to see, Alderman?
Well, first I want a written opinion, the authority by which we are operating to even consider this. And I want it in writing specific to this from our city attorney. It's time for him to live up to the law of how he came to this. If he thinks this is all Jim Dandy and this is all within the rights of the city council to enact this, I want to see it in writing. I want to see a lettered opinion about it, something that he'll be proud to stand behind and something that I can look and refer to. So I make a motion to refer this to the city attorney's office for a written opinion on what authority the city has in creating this ordinance to start with and all aspects of it. And that would be my motion.
If I may?
Second for discussion, so I can get, then I can continue.
Right.
Okay, Alderman Scannell. Okay, now that I've done that, discussion, Alderman Scannell.
Well, the city attorney was involved in helping me put this together. I mean, I did not, if the city attorney would have thought something was illegal, he would have brought that up to me and we would not have put it in. So I think what you're asking for is the city attorney put this together. He's not responsible for the product of it. He's responsible for putting it together and giving feedback for all the questions that were asked for him and all the input that was put into him, and to ask him to do, to ask him to write some kind of
I'll tell you,
opinion is,
just because one or two or three other communities think they can write rules of conduct that can be punishable, I don't know that all the rest of them are. I haven't read them all, but I don't know if they mete out punishment and everything else. The legality, the constitutionality of those are highly suspect in my mind. But I'm willing to listen to our city attorney as long as he gives me a lettered opinion that I can say, okay, this is what we have.
this is what we have.
This thing is way out of bounds. It's way out of bounds. I tell you think it's going to create cooperation amongst people? This is divisive at best. It potentially pits aldermen against each other unnecessarily. We often oppose each other for one reason or not. The council seems to fall down on similar votes on most issues because sides have set up for one reason or another. There's certain issues, occasionally, you see people crossing over one way or the other. We do see eye to eye on more things than probably we don't see eye to eye on. But that's how it is. And if you want to create more division, just start trying to apply this.
How long will you be able to get that to Alderman Ziegler?
It's not to me.
To everybody.
This is a document for the world.
Okay, how soon can you get that document to them?
If it has to go to council, but if that's what the council votes on, I can get it.
Yeah,
It won't take
okay,
long.
Alderman Scannell, I mean, this is,
We need that before
I
we can
mean,
go on forward.
there's no reason to rush this if that's what.
I want to know the authority by
You
which
understand?
this.
Yeah, I understand.
Are you fine with that? Okay.
Just because a couple other communities did something doesn't mean it's constitutional.
All right.
And after that, I'd
we
ask,
have,
once it's settled, before I'd even want to ever consider it, is I'd want it sent to the Attorney General after that. So, because this thing is really suspect.
Well,
that'll solve it.
You talk about a laughingstock, that's
If I
what this
may,
is. This is a
if
laughingstock.
I understand it, the rules right now are the council sets its own rules. As far as I understand, that's the rule right now. So anything you
set rules outside the
object
law.
to in this council, in
can't
this
set
code of
rules
conduct,
outside the
could
law.
happen right now.
Alderman Scannell, this is perfect. We're gonna get the letter from the attorney, let the, what would you want to say, the Attorney General, and if he says it's,
No,
that
we
it's,
get it back here first.
well, then you're not making
Well,
that.
we don't have a final document. I mean, I don't want to send anything up to the Attorney General until we have a final document.
All right, so let's get that going, let's get this going. I don't have a
My
problem with
motion is
that.
to reserve it,
Right.
to refer
Just-
this back to staff for the city attorney's office, legal opinion, lettered legal opinion of how this meets the laws of the land.
Okay.
And it gives us the right to do this.
We have a motion and a second, so we can get going. Alderman Slotnick, all in favor? Okay, that's, I didn't know if you had something.
I just want to, for the record, say that I'm not going to support this.
Okay.
I think it's a waste of staff time. The attorney has put the statute references right in the document as to what he believes supports these penalties should the council want to take them. And with all due respect, I don't
It doesn't
believe-
have his name on it.
I don't believe Alderman Zima is going to support a code of conduct, no matter what we do. And
You're
I
absolutely
think-
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
thank you
let's
for
vote.
confirming. So
Yeah.
this is just more delay, more harangue. I don't need it, I won't support it.
I understand that, and I respect
Thank you.
that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
No.
No, okay, motion passes. Thank you, Alderman Scanlon. Now we're done, so make motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays here, none, motion passes. Okay, Guy, you're